Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we are starting a new project. Now, this is a project that I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is, can you put bedding from some of your animals in a worm bin? So for me, I happen to have a hamster, or I should say my son happens to have a hamster that we help take care of. And in his cage, we add a little bit of aspen shavings and a little bit of this cardboard material. I think it's like called Easy Care or something like that. But it's essentially paper. And it's quite dusty, but at the same time, it's essentially a cardboard paper product. And then we have shavings. So with that, you then have the waste from your hamster or your animal. And the question is will the worms break down that type of material? So that's what we're going to sort of start answering with this system right here. So what I have in front of me here, or down below here, is I have bags of, honestly, I think you can see in there, but bags of his waste that I've been slowly saving over the course of a few months now. We're waiting for him to chew through. There were some plastic pieces he chewed through. There might be a little bit of plastic in here. We tried to get rid of most of that. There also is probably a little bit of wood product from some of the wood items that he has. But it's time to kind of go through here and just see if these worms can break this down. So today we're not adding worms. Today we're just getting the bin set up. And this is going to be pretty easy for this system. It's just going to need the bedding, some water, and we might add some food to it. But we'll see. Now, I do want to say we are dealing with animal waste here. This bedding material and this bin, I should say, in general, will not be used at all on anything that is grown for food. This is going to be added to a section of my yard that I know I would never have a garden in, and it's going to be added to, actually it's probably going to be added to trees that are by the curb, which I would never grow a garden in. And the idea is that I really want to compost this bedding instead of throwing it away, because it's a waste to throw it away, but also this should be able to go through a worm gut. It should be perfectly fine to use in my soils to help them out and to help my trees out in the area. So with that, let's go create this bin and let's get this started. Today will be day 0. We're going to go from there. We're going to be adding a lot of stuff as far as bedding today. We're not going to be adding a lot of food. This is primarily going to be a bedding system, and I do wonder, I'm going to start it with reds, but I do wonder if in the end this will be something that really my African Nightcrawlers should be in, because of how much they love bedding material. In fact, I debated on just being like, well, maybe I should just throw a handful of them in. And I'm still going back and forth on that, whether I should just throw in just a small amount of them and just let them reproduce in this bin that only has bedding material in it. So we'll see. Maybe we should make that a poll down below. We'll see what wins. Should I put in the reds or should I put in my African Nightcrawlers? Just some of them, not all of them, just some of them, just to see how they work in this system. But for right now, we're just going to get this set up. We're going to let it sit for a little bit. We're going to saturate it with some water. There might be, for me, a little bit of odor, and I can't say whether there'll be a lot or none for somebody else doing this system, because I have one hamster. You might have guinea pigs, or maybe you have mice or rats or something else that you're keeping that might be a little bit different as far as the excrement that it has, and also as far as the amount of bedding you're using. So with that, let's go and start setting up this system. This is going to be pretty quick, but hey, I want to show you the process. So let's go. All right, so this is the bin we're going to use. We're going to use one of our standard busboy trays, and I've got links down below if you're looking to purchase one of these. I have a whole bunch of these set up. They work pretty well, and they're decent size, but they're not overly large. So now, as I said before, I've got these bags full of materials here. So these are all of our inputs. I just had them in these bags because it was convenient, but we're going to just pour one in at a time. As I said, every hamster and animal is different. Ours was pretty clean, I have to say, for the most part, but this stuff is just, I don't know if you can see the dust in the air. This bedding material is a lot more dusty than I expected. In fact, give me a second here. I'm just going to vacuum up some of this dust because it's floating like crazy. No reason to have that floating around everywhere. Now, the first thing we really want to do is just Even though this is the first container, I don't know how much is actually in here, and there is some leftover food, by the way, in here too from him, you know, our hamster here. But we're gonna get this wet. So we're just gonna spray this down a little bit, just kind of get this a little bit damp, just to kind of stop the dust from getting up in the air, which is still happening, but just kind of try to wet it down a little bit. And you can see right here, these are the shavings, and really over here more so right now is the paper bedding that he really, really likes. He doesn't really like these shavings too much. But, so we're just gonna soak this down a little bit, and really, I mean, I could have put the bag in here and really try to soak it, but we're gonna mix this up and saturate it to get it ready. But the first thing I want to do is I want to see if this is enough. I have 3 bags of this material, and I don't know if that's enough really or not. I think 3 bags is. I don't know if, you know, one would be one is enough or 2. And there is some food, as you can tell, like right there. There is a piece of food that's in the system that's left over from him. You know, we don't clean everything out perfectly, and he'll use food all over, and you know, goes to the bathroom all over and everything. So I think with this we're going to add one more. There isn't a whole lot in there right now. It looks pretty shallow. So we're going to add one more bag here. I might have to vacuum again. There we go. And again, I won't vacuum this time. I'm just going to start spraying with water very, very gently. See if we can get the dust down. And we found that this bedding material that we're using, it says 99% dust free. Yeah, that's not true. It is not 99% dust free. It is, you know, maybe 50% dust free or something compared to maybe some really dusty stuff. But we found that there's dust all over my son's room. It actually plugged up our smoke detector. So this material, I wouldn't suggest you buying these materials necessarily for worm bins. Although, you know, it is essentially some of this stuff is just shredded cardboard. All right, so this is looking pretty good. This is definitely going to need a lot more water than this. This is just to start here. I think we're going to have to dump some more water in here to really saturate it. But the idea is to just start getting this going. And then we'll probably add some castings in here too, just so we can get that microbial activity. We do need to add some of our crushed eggshell or crab shell. And you know, that's just something that you need in all your systems, but for this one especially, we're really going to need to get this going. So I'm going to grab first thing here, we're going to grab some crushed egg and crab shell. I've got my container on the side here. I've actually got a big container of it too, so we're going to actually add quite a bit. And actually, before I do that, let me grab my mask. You should wear a mask when you're doing this. This stuff is not good for your lungs. Don't want to damage them. So, got my N95 mask on now. That should be good. All right, let's sprinkle some of this stuff on. There's quite a bit here. Because even though this is all bedding material, this is not a, it's not a grit. Grit is more like a rock. It's something that does not break down due to composting and things like that. So I'm going to grab my standard glove here. Actually, you know what? I will do one thing that's a little bit different. I'm going to grab my left glove, which I don't use very frequently, so I can make sure I wash it off before I use this in any other. So we're just going to kind of work this in here a little bit. So here's the different bedding materials. I mean, like this, just trying to see. I mean, a lot of it's this, it's a good mix in here, but a lot of it's the aspen shavings. But if we look right here, you can see, hopefully this is focusing, you can see that this is a cardboard bedding that's in there. And you got some, you know, thicker stuff in here as well. As I said, there is some food in here that was left over that's sort of just, you know, and then of course you've got his excrement. But there we go. So this is still pretty dry. This is like a loofah sponge, I think, that was meant to be a chew thing for him that he didn't really chew on or like. So we'll see if that should break down as well. All this stuff is supposed to be somewhat natural. As you can tell, there is a lot of aspen shavings in here. It's going to slowly turn over as we stop using the aspen shavings. And I think this is enough. This is basically two times of cleaning his cage. I still have my mask on. We'll spray this down a little bit more, and then I'll maybe take it off here. I just want to make sure I'm not getting any of this this dust in my in my lungs, for especially rock or crushed eggshell dust. It's very, very, very rough on your lungs. I'm almost out of water here. All right, well that's good for that water. I do have another water container here, which we can use to add a little bit more. So I'm just going to grab a ladle full or container full of water here, and we'll add this right in here. All right, there we go. I think that should be plenty of water. Now, I'm going to take off my mask here. I think it's safe. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to wait. We're not going to do anything else with this bin. We're going to let it sit, kind of saturate a little bit. Actually, there's one more thing we're going to do. Let me just grab some castings to add in there. And I have a container, a worm bin right here next to me that I'm going to use to just grab a couple castings off the top. These are nice dark castings as well. So I'm going to just reach in there and grab a little bit. See if I can grab some without worms in them though. Give me just a second here. There we go. So nice dark rich castings right here. There might be a worm or two in there, that's okay. But just to kind of, oh, there's one right there. I'll need to take him out and throw him in the other bin, back in the other bin. There we go. Just something to just kind of get this going a little bit with the microbes. As you can see, this thing right here got wet and it absorbed it and just blew up. It actually was flat before. Maybe we should have been doing that in the cage. Maybe that's why he didn't like them. So there we go. Just a little bit in there just to kind of get that going a little bit. We're not trying to jumpstart it tremendously. There is a lot of material in there as well that can be eaten. And as I said, I think we're going to do a poll here. What type of worm should I add to this? Should I add my reds? Or should I add some African Nightcrawlers to this system and see how they do in composting this bedding-like material? I mean, this is essentially 100% bedding with a little bit of other stuff thrown in. I think it might be perfect for them with how much they really like that bedding material in the other bins. Although I don't know how they'll do with the pine shavings. I'm sorry, these are aspen shavings, not pine, aspen shavings. I don't know how they'll do with those, but I think it's worth a test. So today is the 29th, so I'll put on July 29th. Let me just put that down on here. I'm going to mark that down on a piece of tape and put that on here. All right. And we're going to put that right there at the bottom. No food this time, but this is 0. And maybe, I know that some of the other people make spreadsheets. Maybe I will make a spreadsheet for this one too. It's a little hard to do that in my basement, as I don't have a computer that I really use down here very often. That might look like a 4. Let me just make sure that looks like a 9. There we go. Much better. All right, so there we go. We got the date on there. We've got the bin ready. We're going to let it sit for maybe, between 3 and 7 days to just sort of let this marinate a little bit, build up the microbes that are necessary. And then what we'll do is we'll add the worms. So from you, I'm going to need to know, which worms should I add? Reds or African Nightcrawlers? If we add reds, we can add quite a bit. If we add African Nightcrawlers, it's just going to be a small handful, really. I can't add a whole lot because I only have, a few hundred, really. So, but let me know what you think down in the comments, and maybe I'll put a poll up as well if I can figure out how to do that. So, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, or if you are running something like this, let me know down below. I really want to hear from you because this is the first time I'm trying to set up something like this for our small animal that we have. So, thank you for watching, and please leave a comment down below.